The first encounter. The year was 2042. Earth had been at peace for the longest time, untouched by the vast reaches of the universe, until the skies turned dark one fateful day. A massive spacecraft, unlike anything ever seen before, appeared on the radar, its presence unmistakably alien. It cut through the clouds with ease, hovering over the Pacific Ocean. The world held its breath. What was it? A new era was about to begin, and no one knew whether it would bring salvation or doom. The ship's descent was graceful, almost serene. It landed in a remote region near the coast of Australia, far from major population centers. It was the perfect place for first contact, if not for the overwhelming anxiety that accompanied such a momentous occasion. A delegation of world leaders and military officials assembled quickly, preparing for what would be humanity's first direct interaction with an extraterrestrial life form. As they approached the site, all eyes were on the towering figure standing at the entrance of the ship. She was tall, well over 7 feet, with skin that shimmered like molten silver under the sunlight. Her eyes, glowing faintly in the dim light, gave off an unsettling yet mesmerizing aura. "Welcome to Earth," said Ambassador Wilson, the spokesperson for the United Nations. His voice was steady, but the tension in his body was clear as he looked up at the alien figure. "We come in peace." The alien woman, her posture regal and commanding, did not respond immediately. Instead, she surveyed the humans before her, scanning them with an intensity that made everyone in the delegation uncomfortable. When she finally spoke, her voice was like thunder, deep, resounding, and almost otherworldly. "You humans," she said, a smirk tugging at the corners of her lips. "You're so small, so weak. I have seen countless species across the galaxy, and none have impressed me. You are not big enough to please my kind." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. The words, both dismissive and condescending, stung. How could she speak to humanity like this? After all the advancements, all the history of triumphs, here stood an alien who openly dismissed them as unworthy of even a second glance. Ambassador Wilson's face tightened. "We may be small, but we are capable of great things. Perhaps there is more to us than you understand." The alien woman tilted her head, her eyes narrowing. "I do not care for your words. I care for results. Prove to me that you can be more than just insignificant ants." With that, she turned and entered the ship without another glance, leaving the humans standing there, stunned, confused, and for some, deeply offended. The delegation returned to their respective governments, and a wave of fear and speculation spread across the globe. What did this encounter mean? Was this an invitation for peace, or a warning for something worse? Ethan, a young scientist and part of a secret government task force, was tasked with studying the alien species further. He wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing was certain. He would find a way to prove humanity's worth, no matter what it took. The alien woman had made her judgment, but Ethan was determined to show her that humanity was capable of far more than she could ever imagine. And so, the journey began. The challenge to prove humanity's worth had only just started. Earth's response. The global summit convened in a frenzy, gathering the brightest minds and most powerful leaders from every corner of the world. News of the aliens' arrival had spread like wildfire, but it wasn't the peaceful message they had hoped for. It was the harsh dismissal, the insult that shook humanity to its core. The alien woman's words echoed in their minds, "You are not big enough to please my kind." For many, it felt like a slap in the face, a challenge to their very existence. Ethan stood at the back of the summit hall, his eyes scanning the room as leaders shouted over one another, the tension palpable. Every country, every nation had their own questions and concerns, but the overwhelming consensus was fear. What did the alien want? Was this the beginning of an invasion? Or worse, was humanity truly so insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe? Ambassador Wilson, the same diplomat who had greeted the alien woman, stood at the front, trying to regain control of the room. "We must remain calm," he said, his voice booming. "We do not know the aliens' true intentions yet. We must send a delegation to learn more." His words were met with murmurs of agreement, though some were skeptical. "We cannot risk sending our best without knowing her full intentions," General Morris, a military leader from the United States, interjected. "If she sees us as weak, we need to be prepared for anything. Our military might be the only language she understands." "I disagree," said Dr. Amelia Chin, a renowned scientist and one of the world's leading experts in extraterrestrial biology. "If we approach her with force, it will only confirm her assumptions. We need to show her that humanity's true strength lies in intellect and ingenuity. This is about more than just military power. We have to prove that we are capable of more than just being small. The room fell into a tense silence. It was clear that no one had an easy answer, but there was one thing they could all agree on. The aliens' words had stirred something deep within humanity. "We'll send a team of diplomats, scientists, and specialists," Ambassador Wilson announced, breaking the silence. "We'll go to her, learn about her species, and demonstrate our potential. Ethan, you've been working on the research team. I want you on this mission." Ethan was taken aback. He hadn't expected to be chosen, but he knew this was the opportunity of a lifetime. With humanity's future on the line, he couldn't afford to hesitate. "Yes, Ambassador. I'll do everything I can." The next few days were a blur of preparation. Ethan spent his time studying alien species, trying to understand what they were dealing with. He pored over every piece of data about the alien woman's race, what little there was, and tried to discern any pattern in her behavior. The alien woman had made it clear that humanity's physical size was a point of mockery for her. But was that truly the heart of the matter? Ethan had an inkling that her words were more than just taunts. They were a challenge, a test. Her species may not have valued physical size, but perhaps they valued something else, a quality humanity hadn't yet fully understood. As the day of the mission arrived, Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and dread. The world was counting on him and his team to turn things around, to prove that humanity was worthy of more than just being dismissed as insignificant. The team was small but diverse: diplomats, scientists, and even a few military advisors. They were all nervous, but they had no choice but to push forward. Together, they boarded a shuttle that would take them to the site of the alien's ship. It was a journey that no one could have prepared for, and as the shuttle began its ascent into the sky, Ethan couldn't help but wonder if humanity's fate would be sealed in this very moment. Upon landing near the alien ship, the atmosphere was tense. The craft was now fully operational, and the alien woman was waiting for them at the entrance, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "You've returned," she said, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "Do you seek to prove your worth?" Ethan stepped forward, his mind racing. "We seek to understand you, to show you that humanity is capable of more than just size. We have intellect, creativity, and compassion. We believe that is what makes us strong." The alien woman's lips curled into a mocking smile. "Intellect? Compassion? I have seen countless civilizations with such traits. They are fleeting. What can you do that others haven't already attempted?" Ethan stood his ground, refusing to let her words shake him. "We can create, adapt, and evolve. We are resilient. We can build bridges where others fail, and our creativity is boundless. Our strength is not in our size, but in our unity and our ability to rise above any challenge." The alien woman regarded him carefully, as if weighing his words. There was a long pause before she spoke again, her tone somewhat softer. "I will grant you a challenge. Prove to me that your kind is truly worthy, and I will consider your offer. But fail and you will be dismissed forever." Ethan felt a surge of determination rise within him. "We accept your challenge." With that, the first true test of humanity's strength began. Ethan wasn't sure what lay ahead, but he knew this was their chance. Humanity would prove its worth, not through force but through the power of their mind and spirit. The challenge? The alien woman's cold, calculating gaze remained fixed on Ethan as she spoke. "You've chosen to accept my challenge, human. I will test you, not in the way you expect. Your strength, your creativity, your adaptability, all of it will be put to the test." Her words left a bitter taste in Ethan's mouth. There was no doubt she had underestimated humanity, just as every other species had before them. But this time humanity wasn't going to back down. She motioned to a large platform nearby. "Here lies the first trial. You will use your minds, your unity to solve the task before you. Fail and you will not leave this place alive." The team exchanged uneasy glances, but there was no turning back now. The stakes were high, and Ethan knew that if they failed, the world would never have a chance to redeem itself. The alien woman stepped aside, revealing a large metallic structure, unlike anything the humans had seen before. It hummed with strange energy, and its surface shimmered with iridescent patterns. The team of humans was confused. What was this structure? What purpose did it serve? And how were they supposed to solve it? "It's a puzzle," Dr. Amelia Chin spoke up, stepping forward to inspect the structure. "But it's not just any puzzle. It's alive, it reacts to us." Ethan studied it intently. There were no obvious seams, no buttons to press. The surface was smooth, undulating as though the structure itself was breathing, and strange symbols were flashing across its surface. "You must unlock it," the alien woman said with a smirk. "Use your creativity to solve it." Show me that you can outsmart what is beyond your comprehension. Ethan glanced around at his team. This was humanity's moment. This was what they had always done, overcome the impossible. He took a deep breath. We can do this. As the team began to approach the structure, Ethan's mind raced. There had to be something hidden beneath the surface. The symbols weren't random, they must mean something. But what? He remembered something from the research they had studied back on Earth. There was an ancient human form of communication, patterns in light and sound. Could this alien technology operate on the same principle? Amelia, Ethan said suddenly, his mind clicking into place. Do you think it's reacting to sound? Maybe the vibrations create the response? Dr. Chen's eyes widened. It could be. Let me try something. She stepped up to the structure and began to hum softly. At first, there was no reaction, but as the frequency of her voice altered, the structure began to vibrate in response. The symbols on the surface began to shift, becoming more defined. Ethan quickly followed her lead, adding his own voice to the hum, trying to find the right frequency. The rest of the team joined in, adding their voices and contributing in every way they could. It felt like a harmonious collaboration, like all their efforts were aligned in a single purpose. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they continued to experiment, but suddenly the structure reacted more violently, almost as if it were alive, sensing something in their voices, their unity. The once shimmering surface cracked open in several places, revealing a glowing blue orb at its center. The alien woman's eyes narrowed. She stepped forward, inspecting the orb. Impressive, she said, her voice tinged with something like admiration, though it was hard to tell. But this is only the first test. Ethan and the team were exhausted but exhilarated. They had done the impossible, together. Humanity had proven its resilience and creativity in a way that no one, including the alien woman, had expected. But this was only the beginning. Ethan's heart raced as he wondered what else the alien had in store for them. But before he could dwell on that thought, the alien woman's voice cut through the silence. The second trial will be harder, she said, her tone colder. I will see how your kind reacts when placed under pressure. When you are faced with a force you cannot control, will you still rise? Will your strength persist? Ethan's stomach tightened. What could be more difficult than this? He looked around at his team, exhausted but still determined. Stay sharp, he muttered to them. We've proven our strength once. Now we need to show her what humanity is truly made of. The alien woman's eyes glinted as she stared at Ethan. The next test will be your undoing, or your triumph. You will learn what your species is truly capable of under duress. Without warning, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The air seemed to warp, distorting around them. A strange force pushed at Ethan's chest, and he staggered backward, trying to regain his footing. Brace yourselves, he shouted to the team, but it was already too late. A massive storm began to brew, dark clouds swirling overhead, lightning crackling through the sky. It wasn't just a storm, it was a force field, a tempest of unimaginable power shifting around them. Ethan's team was caught in its grip. The ground shook violently, and the storm's energy created blinding flashes of light. The pressure was unbearable, like being in the eye of a massive storm, yet with no escape. This was the second trial, the trial of endurance, of willpower. The alien woman was testing humanity's ability to stand firm in the face of overwhelming adversity. We have to focus. Ethan yelled over the roar of the storm. We need to find the source of the energy. That's how we'll stop this. The storm intensified, but Ethan wasn't about to let this alien test break them. Humanity had survived worse. They had persevered when faced with natural disasters, war, and hardship. They could survive this. Together they pushed forward, working as one unit, each person contributing to the effort. They had shown their creativity before. Now it was time to show their strength. The trial of endurance. The storm raged on, its energy becoming more chaotic by the second. Ethan's ears rang with the deafening sound of the force field's energy as the tempest twisted around them. The air was thick with a strange, almost suffocating pressure. It was as though the very atmosphere was alive, pushing and pulling with unnatural force. Ethan gritted his teeth and took a deep breath, fighting against the onslaught of the alien forces. His body felt heavy, like it was being crushed by an invisible weight. He could see the same strain on his team. They were all struggling, but they hadn't given up. Not yet. Focus. Ethan shouted above the storm, trying to reach his team through the noise. We can do this. We've been through worse. Dr. Chin, her face pale but determined, nodded. There has to be a weak point in this field. We just need to find it. The alien woman's voice rang out, her tone mocking. You think you can outlast me? Your species is fragile, your body's weak. I've seen civilizations crumble under less. But her words didn't break them. The humans had faced adversity before. They had fought wars, survived natural disasters, and rebuilt civilizations from the ground up. If there was one thing they had, it was endurance. And they would use it now. Ethan scanned the surrounding landscape. The storm wasn't just a test of strength, it was a test of their ability to adapt. They needed to find the source of this tempest and disrupt its flow. But the energy in the air made it difficult to think straight. His head buzzed, his vision blurred. Amelia? Ethan shouted. Do you have any ideas? Dr. Chin was crouching, her hand pressed against the ground as if she was trying to feel something. There's a pattern, she said, her voice strained but clear. It's like the storm is connected to the planet's magnetic field. If we can disrupt the energy flow, we might be able to break it. Ethan felt a surge of hope. This was it. This was what they needed to do. He looked around at the team, trying to gauge their strength. They were all pushing themselves to the limit, but they couldn't afford to stop now. They had to hold on. All right, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. We need to work together. Amelia, find a way to access the magnetic field. The rest of us will hold off the storm and make sure nothing interferes. The team immediately sprang into action. The alien's words echoed in Ethan's mind, but he pushed them aside. The alien woman may have seen their kind as fragile, but she didn't understand what made humanity strong. It wasn't their physical strength, it was their resilience, their ability to come together in the face of impossible odds. As the team worked, the storm's energy grew more erratic. It seemed to shift in response to their efforts, as though the alien woman was testing their resolve. Ethan could feel the pressure mounting in his chest, the air growing thicker with each passing moment. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he refused to stop. He could see the determination in the eyes of his team, and that fueled him to keep pushing. Minutes stretched into hours. The storm intensified, the energy in the air sparking and crackling around them. But the team refused to give in. Dr. Chin had found the weak point in the magnetic field, and the rest of the team held their ground, bracing against the force of the storm. We're almost there, Dr. Chin called out, her voice strained but filled with determination. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. They were close. He could feel it. The storm had reached its peak, but they were still standing. Humanity wasn't just surviving, they were adapting. They were learning how to use the storm's power against itself. With a final push, Dr. Chin activated a device they had crafted from their own technology, an amplifier designed to send a pulse into the magnetic field. The device hummed to life, and the energy in the air began to shift. Slowly, the storm started to dissipate, the force field weakening until, with a deafening roar, it collapsed in on itself, vanishing entirely. The team collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, their bodies exhausted but triumphant. The storm was gone, the pressure lifted. They had done it. Together. Ethan slowly stood up, his muscles aching, his body battered from the ordeal. He glanced over at the alien woman, who stood at a distance, her face unreadable. You're still standing, she said, her voice a mixture of disbelief and grudging respect. You survived the trial of endurance. I didn't think your kind had it in them. Ethan wiped the sweat from his brow and took a deep breath. We've barely begun. The alien woman's eyes narrowed as if calculating something. You've proven that you can endure. But now you must prove your worth in another way. Ethan didn't flinch. He had no idea what the next trial would entail, but he was ready. The team was ready. They had proven that humanity was capable of so much more than the alien woman had assumed. We're not giving up, he said firmly. We've faced your storm. Now let's see what else you've got. The alien woman said nothing, but her lips curled into something resembling a smile. Very well, human. The next trial awaits. As Ethan turned to his team, he saw the same resolve in their eyes. They had faced the storm and emerged victorious. Whatever the alien threw at them next, they would face it together. The final test. The air felt thick with tension as the alien woman's words hung in the air. You've passed the trials of creativity and endurance, she said, her voice colder than before. But now you face the final test. The true measure of your species. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. They had made it this far, but now was the moment of truth. The alien woman's challenges had tested their minds and bodies, but this final trial would push them to their limits in ways they hadn't anticipated. What does the final test entail? Ethan asked, his voice steady but betraying a hint of apprehension. He had no idea what to expect, but they had come too far to fail now. The alien woman's eyes gleamed. It is a test of your most vital resource, your unity. Your ability to work together as one, despite your individual differences. Ethan glanced around at his team. Dr. Chin, Marcus, and the others stood beside him, each of them worn from the trials but still determined. Together they had faced everything thrown at them so far. But what did the alien woman mean by unity? Together? Marcus asked. What do you mean by that? The alien woman stepped forward, her voice low and dangerous. You will enter the void. The ground beneath them began to rumble and a deep, ominous sound echoed through the air. From the center of the arena, a massive opening appeared in the earth. The void was a swirling mass of darkness, an abyss so deep that it seemed to swallow the very light around it. Ethan felt a chill creep down his spine. What is that? He asked, his voice tight with fear. It is a place of chaos, the alien woman explained, her tone almost triumphant. A place where your weaknesses are exposed, where the very essence of your being is tested. Only by working together, by truly understanding each other, can you survive the void. The team stood in stunned silence, staring into the endless dark that yawned before them. It was impossible to see what lay beyond the edges of the chasm, but Ethan knew this was no ordinary test. This was something far more dangerous than they could have ever prepared for. You will enter the void, and only through your unity will you find your way out, the alien woman said, her voice final. If you fail, you will be lost forever. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. Ethan could feel his pulse quickening. This was it, the final test. There would be no turning back. The void was a place of pure uncertainty, a test of everything they had learned and everything they had become. Ethan turned to his team, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. They had been through so much together. They had endured the alien woman's trials, faced her challenges and come out stronger each time. But this was different. This was something none of them had ever experienced before. We can do this, he said, his voice strong despite the fear gnawing at his insides. We've made it this far. We've worked together as a team and now we need to trust each other more than ever. Whatever the void throws at us, we face it together. The team nodded in unison, their resolve hardening. Ethan could see the same unwavering determination in their eyes. They had faced impossible odds before and they weren't about to stop now. Together they could do anything. With a deep breath, Ethan stepped forward. Let's do this. The team followed him, stepping into the void one by one. As they crossed the threshold, the darkness swallowed them whole. It was as though they were floating in an endless expanse, with no up, no down, no sense of direction. The only thing they could see was the faint outlines of each other, their forms flickering in and out of existence. A cold, unsettling silence surrounded them. It felt like they were being pulled in every direction, like the void itself was trying to tear them apart. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. This was unlike anything he had ever experienced. The pressure, the uncertainty, it was all consuming. Stay close, he said, his voice barely audible in the overwhelming stillness. Stay together. We can't let the void separate us. They moved cautiously, each step uncertain, as though the very ground beneath them could disappear at any moment. It was an unnatural feeling, like walking on air, but with the knowledge that one misstep could lead to their doom. As they ventured deeper into the void, strange visions began to appear. Flickering images, like distorted memories, flashed before their eyes. Ethan saw flashes of his past, his family, his friends, the moments that had shaped him. But then the images began to twist, to warp, becoming distorted and nightmarish. He saw himself losing control, abandoning his team, running from the danger. He saw them falling, alone in the darkness. No, he shouted, shaking his head, trying to clear the images from his mind. Stay focused. Dr. Chin called out, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. The void is testing us. We can't let it break us. But the visions didn't stop. The team was being pulled in every direction, each of them facing their own personal fears, their doubts, their insecurities. The void was not just a test of strength or creativity. It was a test of their very souls. Ethan fought against the pull of the void. He reached out, grabbing Dr. Chen's hand. We can't lose each other, he said, his voice shaking. We have to stay together. One by one, the team linked hands, forming a human chain. The unity they had cultivated over the course of the trials was their only defense against the void's overwhelming power. As long as they stayed together, they had a chance. But the void wasn't done with them yet. The darkness seemed to press in from all sides, trying to suffocate them, to tear them apart. Ethan's vision began to blur, his breath coming in short gasps. We're almost there, he said, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. Just a little longer. We can do this. Together. And then, as if by some miracle, the pressure began to ease. The darkness started to recede, and the world began to come back into focus. The void was losing its grip on them. With one final push, they stepped through the veil of darkness and into the light. The oppressive force lifted, and they found themselves standing in an open field, the sun shining brightly above them. The alien woman stood at the edge of the field, her expression unreadable. But Ethan could see the faintest flicker of something. Respect, maybe? "You have passed," she said, her voice softer now. "You have proven that your kind possesses what it takes. Your unity has surpassed my expectations." Ethan looked around at his team. They had made it. They had passed the final test. Together. "We did it," Marcus said, his voice filled with awe. Ethan smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "Yes, we did." The alien woman stepped forward, her eyes now acknowledging the strength of humanity. "You have earned my respect, human. Your kind is more powerful than I thought." Ethan stood tall, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. They had faced the impossible and they had overcome it. They had proven that humanity's strength wasn't just in their bodies, it was in their hearts, their minds, and their unity. And as the alien woman stepped back, disappearing into the horizon, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The trials were over, but the real challenge, the future of humanity, was just beginning. The dawn of a new era. As the light of the void faded, the team stood in awe of the vast landscape before them. They had passed the final trial, the test of unity, but the journey was far from over. The air was thick with the weight of their success, but also with the knowledge that what came next would shape not just their future, but the fate of humanity itself. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the sun's warmth against his skin. For the first time in what felt like ages, he allowed himself to relax, even if just for a moment. The trials had tested their bodies, their minds, and their souls, and they had emerged stronger. "Is it over?" Marcus asked, his voice tired but filled with hope. "I think we've earned our answer," Ethan replied, glancing around at his team. They had come so far, fought so hard. They had faced challenges that no one could have ever predicted, but together they had triumphed. But as the alien woman had said, this was only the beginning. They had been chosen to represent humanity, chosen to prove that despite all the odds stacked against them, humanity could stand tall, stronger than ever before. What that meant they were yet to fully comprehend. As they stood there, the alien woman emerged from the shadows, her eyes softer than before. There was a quiet power in her gaze, a recognition of their accomplishment, but there was more in her expression, a sense of something greater, something monumental that was about to unfold. "You have succeeded, humans," she said, her voice no longer cold or distant. There was something almost reverential in her tone now. "I did not believe your kind could endure what I put you through. But you have shown me that humanity is not just a fleeting species, not just a mere passing moment in the vastness of the universe." Her words echoed in the air, resonating with something deep within Ethan's chest. They had done it. They had proven their worth. The trials were behind them, but the promise she now extended felt more like a calling than an end. "Your unity, your resilience, your strength, it is what has allowed you to succeed. And now, it is what will allow you to lead the way into the future," the alien woman continued. "You have proven that humanity can not only survive, but thrive. And for that, you have earned a place in the stars." The words hung in the air like a beacon. Ethan's mind raced. They had won the respect of this powerful alien race, but what did that mean for humanity's future? What would their place among the stars look like? A sense of awe washed over him. They weren't just survivors now. They were more. Much more. But the alien woman wasn't done. She stepped forward, her eyes narrowing with an intensity that made Ethan's heart race. "However, humanity's place in this galaxy will not be given freely. You will have to prove yourselves to others, to those who are not as understanding as I have been. But fear not," she added, her voice softer now. "You will not be alone." Ethan's brow furrowed, the weight of her words sinking in. This was only the beginning of something larger, something far beyond the scope of the trials they had just endured. It was a new chapter for humanity, but it was also a responsibility they could not take lightly. The alien woman reached into the air, and a holographic projection of the galaxy materialized above them. Stars, planets, and alien civilizations dotted the expanse, some peaceful, others not so much. Humanity's journey, Ethan realized, was about to extend far beyond the confines of Earth. You will need to build alliances, form new bonds with those who may see you as a threat, or as nothing more than an insignificant species. You will need to prove to them what you have proven to me, that humanity is not to be underestimated, she said, her tone resolute. Marcus looked up at the stars, the weight of what she was saying settling in. We're going to need every bit of strength we have. Ethan nodded, his thoughts racing. It wasn't just about surviving now, it was about thriving, about leading humanity into an era of exploration and cooperation with other species. They had earned the chance to prove that they were worthy of this new future. But there were forces in the galaxy that would not make it easy. We're ready, Ethan said, his voice firm. We've proven ourselves. We've faced every challenge, every test. Now we're ready to take on whatever comes next. The alien woman's gaze softened, and for the first time, a small smile tugged at the corner of her lips. You have done more than just survive. You have earned your place in the stars. And just like that, something incredible began to happen. Around them, the landscape shifted. The terrain beneath their feet began to glow with an otherworldly light. The air shimmered, and slowly the sky darkened into a rich velvet, revealing the vast expanse of space. The holographic map of the galaxy that the alien woman had shown them now flickered to life, zooming in on specific points across the universe. Some stars shined brighter than others, indicating areas of interest, civilizations, alliances, potential dangers. Humanity's place among the stars was no longer a distant dream. It was a reality that was unfolding right before their eyes. You are not alone in this journey, the alien woman said. The universe is vast, and your kind will have many challenges to face. But you have already shown that you have the strength to survive, and the will to thrive. There are others like you, other species who have struggled to overcome their own trials. You will find them and you will learn from them. Ethan took one final look at his team, their faces filled with a mixture of awe, determination, and hope. They had been tested, they had fought, and now they stood at the precipice of something greater than they could have ever imagined. A future filled with possibilities, challenges, and above all, unity. With the alien woman's words echoing in their minds, they stepped forward into the unknown. They would face the stars, build alliances, and show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. The journey had just begun.